Welcome to Let's Talk with Teresa Ann. Thank you for joining me with your cup of coffee or even hot cocoa on this Christmas day. Merry Christmas. And I wanted to welcome you to this Motivational Monday. Here is what's coming up next. So what is one of the greatest gifts that you can open? It's the gift of gratefulness. Why do I say that for? Because when you have a grateful heart, everything changes. You no longer see lack, but you see abundance. And I know I talk about this often, but let's just say that you have been taken from, or something was taken from you. Did you know that you do not have to allow what was taken to have the last word over your life? You do not need to say any longer that you've been robbed from, but you can say, I am going to sow that as a seed, because everything that I sow will be returned to me. And you know what is so funny is I find it interesting that God put it in place that what the enemy has stolen, they have to return 7 times. But what's sown as a seed has to be returned 30, 60, and 100-fold. So I don't know about you, but I want the 30, 60, and 100-fold. But from that place, you have to have the perspective of gratefulness. Because guess what? The enemy still has to return the 7-fold. But guess what? While you're waiting for it to happen, that's where it all changes. We can sow it as a seed to God and say, God, you can take what was stolen and you can now turn it into a seed that I'm going to plant into you. And that's how I will release it to you. Because like my mentor said, our mentor said years ago, takers will always be taken. But givers, when they give, you can't take from a giver. Because they're going to give whether or not you have taken from them. Because their attitude is not what you have taken from them, but what they've been able to give, whether or not they were planning on giving it or not. And I want to say this to you today, that when Jesus died on that cross, when he came as that baby with that goal and purpose to come in and be a seed planted into the earth by his Father to receive a harvest of his souls to be returned to him as his family. When Jesus was planted as a seed into Mary, into this earth, something happened. Just like any seed, before it actually manifests into a plant, it has to die in the ground. And so when Jesus died in this earth, as though it is the ground, okay, what's amazing is that when he died on that cross, many felt like his life was taken, but he's such a giver that he could not have his life taken from him. No, instead, he gave it willingly. So let me just say this as a reminder to myself and to each of you. If you've been stolen from, turn it into a seed that you get to sow back into the Lord and say, God, what was taken from me, what was stolen from me, I now give it to you as a seed. Some people say, well, yeah, but Teresa, do I have to turn that into money? No. You take that moment, and I'll give you an example. Let's just say I was stolen from. Maybe something hurt me. Maybe I got offended. And instead of taking that offense, I can now say, Lord, I sow this moment as a learning lesson, and I give it to you. And guess what? God will bless it. Luke 6:27 through 38 is one of my favorite scriptures. It's actually a scripture that it's a challenge, but when you get in him, it no longer becomes a challenge. It becomes an opportunity that you are so excited to walk in. It's kind of like what I've said before. If someone calls me a bee with an itch, At first, I might get shocked, but then I get to use what God has shown me and say, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. And they're like, what? What are you thanking me for? I just called you a bee with an itch. And you can say, but you just reminded me who I really am. I'm beautiful, intelligent, triumphant, compassionate human being. And I know that might sound corny, but guess what? I'll take corny all day versus taking an offense. Because let me tell you, no one can have the upper hand on your life unless you let them. And I will say this, one more thing. When I say no one can have the upper hand on your life, maybe someone does right now, but I will tell you and I will remind you that you are above and not beneath. And in this moment, even sow what you're going through to the Father, give it to Him, and watch what He will do. It may take moments and it may take a few years, but I will guarantee you, you're going to get to know the Father like you've never known Him before. So on this Motivational Monday, it is to motivate you to become more intimate with the Father by using the tool of gratefulness. So remember, this show is about bold inspiration, remembering and revealing the goodness of God. And thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my YouTube channel.